Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, back with a Sweet Boys card featuring Luca, Best Buds, I think it's Best Buds, from LaLa Landcraft. I love her Mercy ones, and so I thought I have boys, so of course I had to give Luca a try here. And of course, the little puppy that is next to him, my dog would be black, but it kind of reminds me of Crown, and so it was, cute puppies. I might be allergic, but I still love them. Anyways, so I did cut apart my stamp to kind of separate the sentiments from the actual red rubber stamp. A lot of, I don't know, should I say 10 years ago, maybe a little bit long. I think it's actually 15. I was looking through my stash and found some Whiff of Joy stamps, which I don't think Katerina is in business anymore, but it was like I'm off topic, I know, from Germany, and they would arrive uncut, or some of them would even be unmounted. I don't know if hers were unmounted, but like Riley and Company used to come unmounted. There was a bunch of them that came unmounted, and you could mount them and do all the things. So I'm not afraid to cut my red rubber stamps apart. That's pretty easy. Usually a hot knife is better, or it gives a better, cleaner cut. I just cheat and use my scissors because I don't want to wait for my knife to heat up. It's still here somewhere. Anyways, I did decide to heat set this one. I am doing this on some Bristol Smooth cardstock stamped with Versamark Onyx black ink, and then of course using that Ranger Fine clear embossing powder to heat set it. I don't think I was fast enough on this. Well, maybe I was. I did this one at the beginning of September. It was for my nephew's birthday. It might still be sitting on my need to mail pile. Maybe today, after I'm done doing the voice recording, I will actually get an address on an envelope and put it in the mail. I also think I did this one for I want to say I submitted this one for a craft roulette card. I don't remember, so if I did, it's in their gallery. If I didn't, I might not have gotten it in on time. It happens. So I decided to try. I picked up the Whimsy, I think it's like the smiles, big grins. I don't know, they're like faces. And I was like, I wonder if they would fit. And they fit perfectly on top of Mercy and Luca here. And so I've been trying to work a little bit more with, upping my coloring game, at least on the eyes on these. And they kind of give you a little bit of a guide. So I did stamp them in Distress. I think it was antique linen. I couldn't remember what it was called, sorry. Antique linen. And so I know that it's going to kind of like just disappear once I start watercoloring. That antique linen will just kind of blend into nothingness. But you could definitely do like a ink on 3 fade out ink would work with something like that if you just kind of want to give yourself a guide. But you could also change the lip shape and the nose shape on these, because you could just not stamp them or clean them off your rubber stamps before you stamp, and then it would kind of give you a different face. So I was kind of excited that they matched. I picked them up for like, I don't know, they were on clearance, so they were like $2. And so I was like, I don't know if I'll ever use these, but I liked the fact that it was faces. And because I struggle with doing, like when I draw, I struggle with faces, so I just avoid them at all costs. But I just kind of played with my Distress crayons. This took me a lot longer than it was supposed to take me. I'm still learning the Distress crayon way. I will say this, when you color with Distress crayons on something and then re-wet it, it's never as dark as you think it's going to be. It's definitely not as dark as my other watercolor pencils are. And so realizing that, as I'm doing this, I've realized you really want to kind of touch your colored pencil here to a wet surface, and it actually gives a lot darker hue. I just don't think, I don't know, if they just don't spread well on a dry surface and they just spread better on a wet surface, like you just get more of that pigment and that hue that you want. So this just took me a really long time because I just kept coming in and kind of adding to it and doing layers and getting it darker and adding details with said layers. So you'll just see my process as I just continually work this one out. I enjoy coloring, watercoloring in general, and sometimes, well, I do and I don't, right? We were talking about it the other day. Sometimes I love coloring because it's easy to just take with me, right? And it's not as easy to take with, you know, the cutter and all of the other things. So when I travel or when I do have appointments and stuff, I'll oftentimes will just take stamped images and a coloring medium of some sort. And so it travels well, right? And I know you guys like watching coloring because you're trying to learn too. And that's how I learned, was just watching people color. But when it comes to like just creating, sometimes I just want to create. Like, I don't want to sit down and have to color my image to add it to my thing. And so it's kind of fun to have a bunch of stuff already colored and ready to go. But that's what we were talking about the other day. And so I might move into more of that again, just because I've been struggling to sit down and do a whole card all together at once, like the coloring and all the things. Once in a blue moon, I, you know, don't mind doing it, but sometimes it's just, it just hasn't been my thing. And especially this time of year with field work, I just tend to have less dedicated time to actually sit and do a full project. But so the puppy, he has a little girl named Dixie. I think it's Dixie. Kayla can beat me with a stick if her dog's name's not Dixie. I'm pretty sure it's Dixie, but she's very energetic. We'll put it that way. I don't think I mean, this one looks kind of like a lab, so I got it because it looked like my black lab crown, although it's not nearly as old and or roly-poly as my baby is. He's not really a baby. He's getting to be fairly old. But I just kept coming back in with different colored crayons, just trying new things, you know, adding more color to it, going back in. I tried to stick with whatever color I was currently working with and go and do all of those, so I didn't have to rinse out my brush very much. You know, I don't rinse out my brush per se. I just kind of, you know, scribble it on a side piece of paper, or sometimes I think I might have had the water open on my desk for this one, so I may have actually like rinsed out the tip in between probably the purple and the browns. I'm coming back with here we go. So it's mostly dry at this point. I'm coming back in and trying to touch up the eyes. I think I ruined it. You know, it's one of those, well, it happens. So I wanted to come in and kind of add back in his whites of his eyes, because I felt that I lost them. And then I was like, well, he kind of needs some. And the dog, like, I don't know, I shouldn't have come back in, because really they don't. I was looking at my dog's eyes. I mean, maybe you get like a corner of a white of an eye in the dog's eyes, but I tried, and he kind of looked like Petey from The Little Rascals here, but I fixed it. I mean, ultimately, I just gave him some really dark, bushy eyebrows. That's what happens when you dip said pencil into water. I said it just went kind of off course, right? And so I just kind of pulled that out and made him, her, I guess in this case, a little bit more like my dog. It is what it is. You know, sometimes you just keep working it. It's watercolor. It's fairly forgiving, or, you know, you just keep adding another layer. It's just going to be a darker dog. Ultimately, if I had a black dog, I ended up with a black dog, right? I liked his eyes when I was all done. And I think it's more because when I look at Crown's eyes, he really doesn't have any whites of his eyeballs left anymore. They're just kind of bloodshot, and he's old and grumpy. Kind of the, you know, I don't know. Maybe they're more yellow than white. I don't know. Does that mean he's got liver issues? Whatever. I'm yammering. Anyways, I'm sorry. So I just kind of came back in, added some more detail. I was trying to add like maybe some fur lines on this one. It really wasn't working, and I was totally zoomed in because I was trying to show you the eyes, and so you probably miss a lot of it. I apologize. I do have this sped up like, I don't know, 5 some 5 times. I don't know. It's a lot faster than it was. This part might be a little bit slower, but the rest was like 5 or 6 times normal speed. And so this is where I'm kind of coming in and trying to touch up where I maybe felt I needed to get a little bit more color back in. I don't know. It was probably fine to start with, and I was putzing and futzing. And so sometimes when I putz and I futz, I mess it up. I should know this. It happened. So yes, I was like, oh, I was going to add him in some eyelashes. And that's when I think it went horribly wrong. He looked fine beforehand. He looks fine now. I just didn't love it. I went with my lightest gray, which you would think it'd be even lighter than like the light color gray that the end is. And it's really not. It's kind of a medium gray color. I was like, this is a hot mess. And so I tried. I added a little bit of white into the corner so it kind of broke up that gray line because it looks kind of like he's got guy liner on, and that would totally not be that little boy. So I tried fixing. I don't know if I got it fixed. You know, sometimes we just have to walk away from things and go, it's okay. So I did kind of, work it a little bit more, and yeah, I don't know. What do you think? So at the beginning, I kind of showed you the cards that I had made earlier or previously. So this one was actually supposed to like get edited and voiced over like for the day after the other one aired, and it didn't happen because life happens. And so it is what it is. But I was playing with the same things that were on my desk, and so I was using, I think it's 49 in Market. Don't quote me on the brand name. I'm kind of in love with some of their paper packs or paper. I love distress everything. Not distress so much, but like steampunk, right? So distress, steampunk, old stuff. Just that style is totally on point with what I love in general, and so I've been kind of loving those things. But this stuff had come from a grab bag that I got last year, the day after Thanksgiving, and I decided I should probably use some of it, being that it was all fall themed, and then so it kind of went with it. That's why I colored him the way I colored him, because I wanted him to kind of go with my paper that I had planned on using here. And so I just kind of cut down my cardstock pieces and just kind of went with it. The Marcy and Luca stamps from LaLa Landcrafts are fairly good inside, so they do take up the whole front of an A2 size card. So I just cut down paper for that A2 size card front, and then of course cut my other piece, and this just kind of did a tear. Now I really kind of liked the back side of this one, and so I was kind of trying to play with it. And I don't know, maybe I should have gone with the other one. I just wasn't sure on the flower, but really the puppy probably would have covered it up and it would have been totally fine. But so I had kind of committed to the green side, or the little leaves. I loved them, and so of course I went with that side. Glued that one down, and then I'm just going to kind of start adding in just kind of the scraps that were sitting on my desk, kind of playing with it, just kind of adding layers. I really had no end goal, knowing that ultimately my images were going to sit on top, and so I could kind of just layer things back behind. I wanted it to be a collage and not totally thought out like I normally do, or in a scene type way that I normally do. So it's a little bit difficult for me to do it this way because I haven't done this in such a long time, but it was so fun to actually just, glue things down, take those little ephemera style pieces and just kind of play and have a good time with it. Most of it gets covered up. Overall, I guess for the most part, a lot of it gets covered up. So I had pulled in the one pumpkin, and I just loved the back piece that was torn here, and so I just continued the tear. And I figured, well, I can just kind of tuck it in there. And so because I knew that my image was going to go on top of this one, I really would have liked that pumpkin to be on top of the leaves, but I knew that I was just going to cover it up. So I wasn't too, you know, terribly worried about that. I did decide to pop up my images here just because I wanted them to kind of come off the front of the card a little bit and stand out from the rest of the collage stuff. Granted, you know, they're a watercolored image and the rest is a printed, you know, printed pieces of paper. So they stand out anyways. But so I'm just going to add those in here. Adding that little bit of glue after I take the sticky papers off onto the back. It just gives you that little bit of wiggle room. So if you want to move it after you've set it down, you have a little bit of time to kind of pick it up and move it a little bit. I just kind of ended up moving it a little bit. It did stick, but I was able to get it off clear enough that I could move it over a little bit so I could get it a little bit better in the center. I wanted, you know, I didn't want my dog to be totally off-centered onto one side, so therefore I could just kind of pop him in there a little bit. And then of course I'm going to do the same thing and add some pop-up to the puppy here. So then I'm going to end up popping him down just a little bit lower than Luca's feet here, just because I didn't want him to look like he was standing on top of him, you know, all the joy. So I did decide to bring in one of the stamps that came with my stamp set here, and then I'm just looking for an ephemera piece or tag here that is going to fit kind of what I want it to, you know, lengthwise, color-wise. I didn't want to go too, you know, off the wall. I kind of wanted it to blend in a little bit to the background. I'm just going to line that up onto my craft mat here and kind of figure out where it's going to stick. Yes, I did it right on my craft mat or my stamping mat surface. I wasn't really worried about it. To be honest, I just stuck it on there with a little bit of adhesive, popped it off, and I'm just going to glue it on to the card front. I do, you know, a lazy craft. I just cheat. I'm not worried about my stuff getting dirty or like inky, because that's what it's supposed to be there for, right? We're supposed to use it and we're supposed to get dirty and used, and you know, that's just embrace the chaos that is creativity. That's what I'm going with today. So once I settled on the front, for the most part, I think I'm done with it. I kind of tried to add some more stuff and I just didn't like it. Just kind of pulling some pieces in before I put it all away to see if I was happy with it. I'm pretty sure I didn't add anything else to it. I just pulled in a happy birthday sentiment from the Otter set from Whimsy Stamps. It just happened to be on my desk. It had happy birthday. It worked for what I needed it to do. And so I did want to pull in the outside in again. I do try to get my cards done per se, like the inside's done as I do them, or they don't get done and then they just get a blank inside. I've been trying, that was my goal this year, was to try to be better about finishing the inside as I do them, and so I've been working on it. And so for this one, I'm just going to partially stamp the dog here. And I kind of just masked off where my sentiment's sitting, cleaned off the rubber where I kind of got a little bit of ink on Luca. And then I'm just going to cheat and toss this on the backside. So you just get the, like, a little bit of the puppy in there. I didn't want the puppy to cover up the happy birthday sentiment part. I just kind of wanted him to be on there. So that being done, I will fold my card base and then I will just add some glue and pop my card front onto my card base here. And that should do it for this one, I think. Maybe, possibly. Did I add anything else to it? Like I said, I was just kind of playing, pulling stuff in, trying to decide if I wanted more things in there, not in there. It happens. You know. So anyways, there is my completed card today. I had fun making this one. It's been a while since I've done the collage thing. It took a bit, but I liked it. All right, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching.